While Teen Wolf gave us scary monsters, memorable characters, and relationships worth fighting over, one thing the show was never good at was telling time. The Hale House fire was 10 years before season 1, or maybe it was 4 years later. Malia is just 13, or maybe she's 15, or maybe 18. Claudia Stilinski died when Stiles was 9, or when he was 7 or something. The Alpha Pack formed in 2002, or was it 2000? Matt Domler was the oldest looking 15-year-old you ever saw. Okay, so that last one isn't so much a timeline problem as it is a casting problem, but you get the picture. Teen Wolf can't tell time. But really, the most glaring and obvious failures of the show's internal timeline could have been easily avoided. And today I will, before your very eyes, fix all of those timeline issues with a magical tool called Photoshop. If you're enjoying these trips back to Beacon Hills, you know what to do. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell so YouTube will alert you when I upload. Teen Wolf's wonky relationship with its own internal timeline started innocently enough back in season 1. They just didn't think about it at all. They kept telling us the date in phone messages and other on-screen props. But it wasn't until Kate's funeral that they solidly established that it was indeed 2011. In fact, they etched it in stone. Kate's tombstone is a time check that matters, and it's really the easiest to fix. Just don't put the years on there at all. Tombstones on TV often just have things like loving daughter and sister, which in this case would have been a lie, but at least you're not establishing a year that you're then going to spend 90 episodes ignoring. There, it's fixed. And now there's no established base year, and the writers can pretend it's any year they want to. Toyota and AT&T can have their latest models on display and it won't seem weird. Just don't mention a specific year again and we are all set. What's that? The class of 2006?
Okay, this is it, class of 2006.
Oy. I get it. You wanted the yearbook thing to be a major clue as to the victims of the Kanama in season 2, so you made a yearbook prop and you slapped 2006 on the cover. Yeah, but you see, all the victims are 24 when they die in 2011. So 5 years ago, they would have been 19, almost 20 during their senior year in high school. There's another problem with that math, too.
I didn't know they had just one state. And Leahy's letting his favorites come over to have a couple drinks to celebrate. Who cares that they're 17, right? Who cares that they're 17, right?
So they're 17 in 2006 and 24 in 2011. Yeah, no, they did not age 7 years in the span of 5. For those numbers to be right, it would need to be 2013 in Beacon Hills. That would be almost a year after they filmed this episode. To make this time check even worse, Miss Morrill says in Battlefield that Matt was only 9 years old when he drowned in 2006.
Can you feel sorry for the 9-year-old Matt who drowned?
That would mean this fully grown man is just 14. You not only have to suspend disbelief, you have to take your disbelief out back of the barn and shoot it with a .45. Once again, all you have to do is remove the year. It doesn't fix the script or the casting choices, but at least you don't give curious fans a reason to pull out the calculators. Season 3 then hit us with a couple of unnecessary time checks, including the fact that the formation of the Alpha Pack came more than 10 years before.
The records will be over 10 years old. I just need to look over a couple files.
Okay, that's cool and all, but you see, at this point in the internal timeline, it's still 2011. So when they show the date on Jennifer's file marking the last victim of the Alpha Pack formation as 2002, that's less than 10 years, not more than 10 years. We can erase the date here too, but the Teen Wolf production is 3 seasons in at this point. They know they have a problem, and it's obvious they just didn't care. Which is why I guess they kept doing stuff like this, including this file folder a few episodes later when we're told that Claudia Stilinski died in 2004, 7 years prior to the current date in the show. That would be fine, except the sheriff had just told us a heartbreaking story a few months earlier that placed her death more than 8 years ago.
There was a night 8 years ago. The night my wife died.
Also, while we're never actually given an age for Stiles on screen, if we assume, as everyone does at this point, that he was 16, this 2004 date would have meant he was 7 when she died. Of course, if we follow the stated logic of the writers that the show exists in the year in which it's being written, he could have been as old as 9. Again, just erase the dated prop and all those issues go away. It's a really dumb mistake when you think about it, but of course it wouldn't be the last super dumb mistake we saw with Teen Wolf.
Want to talk about it? See a family counselor?
Season 4's big reveal that Malia was Peter's daughter was completely overshadowed by this terrible piece of prop work. It places her date of birth late in 1998. In the internal timeline of the show, this episode comes during the winter of 2012, which would make Malia 13. If we go by the writer's conceit that the year on the show matches the year the episode is being written or filmed, Malia is 15. Both of those are contrary to the facts established when Malia's character was introduced in Season 3.
There's one case in particular that I can't get out of my head. 8 years ago, when I was elected sheriff of the county, my first official duty was to tell a man that not only had his wife and 2 kids died in a car accident, but as best we could tell, the body of his 9-year-old daughter had been dragged from the wreck by coyotes.
She was 9 years old 8 years ago. I don't think you can get around the math here. Malia was 17 when they found her and returned her to human form, meaning at this point in the story, when they showed the birth certificate, she would be 18 because she had a birthday in November during Season 3.
You got ripped off.
This is also an excellent example of why this type of internal timeline is not just important to canon wonks like me. It matters with a show like Teen Wolf because the differences between age 13 and age 17 have moral, legal, and psychological implications to your target audience.
Just accidentally walked into the girls' room.
They had already shown Malia in a sexual situation with Stiles in the fall of 2011. According to this prop, she would have just turned 13 at that point, as her birthday would have come about a month after the Halloween episode Illuminated in Season 3B. I don't think I'm being a prude when I say that 13 is inappropriate for this type of activity on television. But if we fix the birth certificate to show the character's real age, no one even bats an eye at the Eichen House makeout session. In light of those big ones, the other timeline mistakes in the show seem trivial. The fact that Sheriff Stilinski had calendar pages from a year in the future doesn't really hurt the story, nor does this bogus driver's license of Derek's from Season 1. But again, even these trivial mistakes could have been avoided by simply removing the dates. Okay, thanks for watching. I'm done with my rant now. Let me know in the comments if I missed a timeline goof, and do all the other YouTube things. Subscribe, like the video, share the video, and all that kind of stuff.